The pen was already touching the contract when the single father suddenly stepped forward and said the one sentence that made the entire boardroom go silent: "If you sign that, you won't just lose your company, you'll lose everything your father built." Every executive in the room turned toward him as if he had lost his mind. He was only a maintenance worker in a faded blue uniform, standing near the conference room door with grease still visible on his hands. The CEO, Marlo Vera, stared at him with disbelief. The contract represented the biggest business deal of her career, a merger worth hundreds of millions of dollars. But the man standing before her had just stopped it with a warning no one else had dared to make. "Before we continue, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the idea that sometimes the person everyone overlooks is the one who sees the truth first, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to True Tale Time. Your support helps us bring more stories like this to you." His name was Corbin Hale, a single father who had spent the last 6 years rebuilding his life after his wife passed away unexpectedly. Every morning, before sunrise, he packed breakfast for his 9-year-old daughter, Sienna, checked her school bag, and walked her to the neighbor who watched her until school opened. Then he took the bus across town to the headquarters of Vera Holdings, where he worked as a maintenance technician. Corbin wasn't wealthy, powerful, or well-connected. He was the kind of man executives passed in hallways without noticing. But Corbin had something that experience had taught him to value more than money: attention to detail. He noticed loose wires, unusual sounds in machinery, numbers that didn't make sense, and people whose stories changed when they thought nobody was listening. That afternoon, the company was preparing for the most important signing in its history. Marlo Vera, a brilliant but exhausted CEO in her early 40s, had spent months negotiating with a private investment group called Northstar Meridian. The investors promised to rescue a struggling division, protect thousands of jobs, and expand the company internationally. Marlo had inherited Vera Holdings after her father died, and although she had fought hard to keep it alive, the company was now under enormous financial pressure. The Northstar deal seemed like the answer to everything. The only person who appeared nervous about the agreement was Marlo herself. Corbin had entered the executive floor because a security alarm had malfunctioned near the boardroom. While repairing the system, he accidentally saw several pages of the merger documents lying beside an open printer. He wasn't trying to spy. But one sentence caught his attention: a transfer clause involving a subsidiary called Vera Community Properties. Corbin froze because he recognized the subsidiary. It owned several buildings, including the small apartment complex where he and Sienna lived. More importantly, he knew the financial records of that property because he had personally repaired its heating system for years. The numbers in the contract didn't match what he knew to be true. He hurried back toward the boardroom, but the signing ceremony had already begun. Marlo was surrounded by lawyers, investors, and senior executives. Northstar's representative smiled confidently as the final contract was placed before her. Corbin stood outside the glass doors, debating whether he should interfere. He knew what would happen if he was wrong. He could lose his job. He could be humiliated. He could even be arrested for interfering with a corporate transaction. But then he thought of Sienna and the apartment they called home. He stepped inside. When Marlo demanded to know who he was, Corbin calmly explained what he had found. The room erupted in disbelief. One executive laughed and told security to remove him. But Corbin refused to leave until Marlo checked one specific account number. She hesitated, then asked her legal team to verify it. Minutes later, the room became completely silent. The account existed, but it wasn't owned by Northstar Meridian. It belonged to a shell company connected to one of Vera Holdings' former directors. Marlo's face changed. She ordered the lawyers to stop the signing immediately. Further investigation revealed something even worse: Northstar wasn't planning to save the company. The deal was structured to quietly transfer Vera Holdings' most valuable properties into another company controlled by people close to the former director. Thousands of employees would eventually lose their jobs, and Marlowe's family legacy would be dismantled piece by piece. But the biggest shock came when Marlowe asked Corbin how he had discovered the connection. Corbin explained that years earlier, before his wife died, he had worked as a junior financial systems technician for Vera Holdings. He had helped build the company's original property database. After his wife's death, he couldn't handle the pressure of the corporate world and left to raise Sienna. He never expected his old knowledge to matter again. Marlowe looked at him differently now. She realized the quiet maintenance worker standing before her wasn't an ordinary employee. He was one of the people who had helped build the systems her father trusted. She also discovered something in the archived records that left her speechless. Corbin had once reported irregularities involving the same former director. His warning had been ignored years ago. That evening, Marlowe visited Corbin's apartment. She expected something modest, but she wasn't prepared for the sight of Sienna sitting at the kitchen table doing homework while her father prepared a simple dinner. There were no expensive decorations, no luxury furniture, just warmth, responsibility, and a little girl's drawings covering the refrigerator. Marlowe apologized for how the company had treated him. Corbin simply told her that he didn't want an apology. He wanted the truth to matter, especially when ordinary people could be hurt by powerful decisions. The investigation that followed saved the company from disaster. The corrupt executives were removed, the fraudulent deal was cancelled, and Marlowe created an internal position for Corbin overseeing corporate systems and ethical reporting. But she didn't give him the job because she felt sorry for him. She gave it to him because she finally understood something her father had once written in an old company notebook: a company is only as strong as the people willing to tell it the truth. Months later, Corbin walked into the headquarters wearing a clean suit instead of his maintenance uniform. Sienna waited outside with a handmade card for her father. On it, she had written, "My dad fixes things." Corbin smiled through tears. Marlowe saw the card and understood that sometimes the greatest heroes don't arrive in expensive cars or stand behind microphones. Sometimes they arrive carrying a toolbox, worried about paying the next bill, and still choose to do the right thing when nobody would blame them for staying silent. If this story touched your heart, please like the video, share it with someone who believes ordinary people can make extraordinary differences, and subscribe to True Tale Time for more stories that remind us that kindness, courage, and honesty still matter. And before the story ends, leave a comment with these words: "Truth matters." Let those words be a reminder that doing the right thing is never wasted, even when nobody is watching. Because Corbin didn't stop that signature to become powerful. He stopped it because he knew what it felt like to lose everything, and he couldn't stand by while thousands of innocent people were about to lose everything too. Sometimes, the person standing quietly in the background is carrying the courage that everyone in the room forgot they needed.